You want to know something that just flips me, just trips me, just makes me full of hate? The very concept of these things called hate crimes and hate speech. I'm not talking about people doing, violent crime on someone, assaulting them, or doing violence to their stuff, vandalizing their stuff, or even going so far as to killing someone. And I'm not talking about someone saying hateful things to someone or whatever. I'm talking about the concept that there is these laws, this legislation, these hate crime enhancers, these hate crime laws, these hate speech laws that exist on this planet, on this globe. Well, unless you believe the earth is flat, okay. I mean, I don't care if it's a flat cheese cracker or a round cheese ball. I'm just talking about this earthly realm, this human earth reality matrix thing. It's bizarre to me that a lot of things are bizarre to me that they exist, but one of them, or two of them, is the whole idea that a crime is worse because it was done, the motive was based on, someone's race or sexual orientation or religion. Or the whole idea of hate speech, and it's a crime to do it in some places, to speak hatefully of someone only if you're speaking hatefully because of their race, their sexual orientation. Me personally, I think I'm sexually oriented northeast. I don't know, I'll have to get orientation on that. Or their religion. The concept of hate crimes or hate speech is bizarre to me. Yes, people do hateful things to people, and people say hateful things. But their motive should not be the issue. It's if you harm someone, you assault them, or you assault their stuff and vandalize it or tear it up because of their race, religion, and sex life, that's just fucked up. It's really strange to me. It's kind of like the whole idea of the laws that they have of assault on a police officer or murder of a police officer carries more of a punishment. There's an enhancer on that one as well. And that's strange to me. I thought, well, in America, the precious Constitution everyone talks about, isn't there a prohibition on titles of nobility in this country? Why is it that if you harm a police officer, even a police dog, there's more of a stipulation, legally speaking, and in your punishment is harsher on a police officer or sheriff's deputy or FBI agent or something like that? There's more of a punishment and a stigma looked down upon than if you just harmed a little old lady or a little old man. I mean, if you want to do that, make it more of a crime to harm elderly people. How about that, or something? But anyhow, the whole concept of hate crimes and hate speech is bizarre to me. First off, I believe in free fucking speech, period. So, there's slander, there's lies, there is deceptive speech, manipulative speech. I mean, politicians are professionals at that shit. So are a lot of corporate CEOs and corporations with their ads, and with the politicians, it's their political ads and their political propaganda. Well, so, and that's done hatefully. If you're trying to lie and manipulate people, you're being hateful. You sure aren't loving them. All right, it's the end of the day. Let me get out of this loader and you can ride home with me and let me finish this up. Okay, I'm back. All right. Now just behave when you ride with me, or you'll have to sit in the back. I mean, I'm not, it had nothing to do with your race. Anyhow, the whole hate speech thing. The hate speech thing, it's like the whole concept with so-called the Holocaust denial thing. If you deny a thing happened, then you can be charged with hate speech in certain countries. Holocaust denial, they call it. Anti-Semitic. Well, first off, if you're going to talk about speech, let's get things right. I'm not anti-Semitic because I'm not against anyone that speaks a Semitic language. And by the way, as far as Jews go, a lot of them don't speak Hebrew. They don't speak a Semitic language. I'll tell you who does speak a Semitic language. A lot of these Arabic people, they speak a Semitic language. One of the truck drivers that I load, real nice guy. He's from Afghanistan. He is bilingual. He speaks both. Okay, really nice guy. My co-workers joke all the time. Oh, he's a terrorist, must be a terrorist. I'm talking about co-workers of all different races. Oh, he's a terrorist. They're just joking. All right. Isn't that hate speech? No, it's not hate speech. You know why? Because the government's propaganda has made people say those type of things. They say that everyone, Arab, they're some sort of terrorist, blah, 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 because they're Arabic and or Muslim. All right, so that's hating somebody for their religion and or their race, their ethnicity and country of origin and things like that. So that's bullshit. All right. It's kind of like my generation, Generation X. We grew up with movies like Blazing Saddles and stuff like that, where it was okay to tease and joke each other about your race or whether you were gay or not. It didn't fucking matter. The only people that have a problem with homosexuality usually are going to be your real religious people anyway. So most people don't really give a shit if you're homosexual or you're gay or you're lesbian, whatever. Or bi. No one fucking cares. So, and I used to be, when I was a Christian, the only thing I had was, when it came to gay people, I was like, that's a sin. But, to me, they were lying and other things were sins too, because I didn't, put one above the other. Now, there were some Christian guys that, they had a real problem with homosexuals, and I know what some people would say. Well, that's because, deep down they're gay or they fear their gay tendencies. That's not always necessarily true. Maybe they fear that God's going to be angry with them if they're friends with someone who's homosexual. Maybe maybe they were messed with when they were young by someone who was homosexual. So not all people that hate gay people are afraid of gay people are what we call homophobe, which is a made up fucking word. No one's scared of someone that's homosexual. That's retarded. But that come from the same place that critical race theory came from. That everyone's thinks that they've just learned something new. When I learned about the Frankfurt School and critical race theory decades ago, before the internet got cranked up and YouTube and all that shit. But anyhow, so as far as hate speech goes, that is a propaganda tool that is used. You're not allowed to say, as far as the Holocaust goes, you're not allowed to ask and question and say, question the numbers of 6 million, was it really that many? Or, what's wrong with questioning that? And there are people that question, was anybody at all, there were definitely camps and stuff, but was there really anybody at all killed by a pesticide that was poured in through the chimney? This is what they said at Auschwitz. Supposedly happened is that they poured a delicing agent, Zyklon B, down a chimney, and it came through the piping into the shower room with showers that, wooden doors, windows. None of that makes any sense. It's definitely doesn't make sense for the Germans. It's not efficiency. It's just, so what I just said right there would be considered hate speech or Holocaust denial. And I'm simply just pointing things out that don't make sense to me. So they don't want you to think. They don't want you to have any jokes where you just make jokes about gay people or people of different races and things like that, or ethnicities or religions. Hell, we all gotta laugh at each other. Fuck that shit, man. I've got the words tattooed white trash on me. It says tattooed white trash. You call me a redneck, you call me a hillbilly, call me a cracker, I don't care. Just don't call me late for dinner, man. Especially if you're Mexican, because I love fucking Mexican food. Anyhow, so, and I like some Chinese food too. You know what I'm saying? Here's the thing. I was in the white power movement, racist movement for years. I was a mover and a shaker. I was a writer. I was a speaker. And I was quite well known in certain segments of the white power movement. The Ku Klux Klan, Aryan Nations, which was a militant Christian identity organization, because I was Christian identity. So I was Christian, but I had come over to the identity theology, which is a racial Christianity. Whereas you have the Black Israelite movement, where they think that they're descended from the biblical Hebrews of the Bible. Well, Christian identity, they believe that the white people are descended from the Israelite people and not the Jews today. But anyhow, so I wasn't just a member. I was actually a leader. I was a teacher, a speaker, an activist, and a recruiter, and all those things. So, I really, really, truly believed in that bullshit. Sorry about that, but I did. I really believed in the Bible, and then it came to the identity theology And it convinced me, and I just went along with it, and I got really good. I understood it, studied it, ate, drank, and slept it, learned it really well, and began to teach it, and began to give lectures and Bible studies and all kinds of shit like that, rally speeches. I was in the media, blah, blah, blah. So I understand the whole true racist world, and it's funny to me that people call people racist who, I'm telling you, they're not racist at all. They don't think racially. The very word racist, the prefix is race. The suffix is ist, like a bicycle-ist. A bicycle-ist. Ist is a suffix meaning to someone who's interested in. There is no connotation in the very word race and no connotation in the word ist, or the suffix ist, that there's hate. There is no connotation that racist is hate, or racism is hate. It's just something that somebody believes. Doesn't mean you hate other races. There were a lot of people that I rubbed shoulders with and was aware of, dealt with in the racialist movement that they didn't. I had become very hardcore. I was thinking people who weren't white were of the devil. I'm sorry, that's what I believe. Not just Jews either. I'm talking about people who weren't white. Now I'm very close with my brother-in-law and my niece and nephew, who are not white. They're mixed, and all of that. I've walked away from all that shit. But we still can tell racial jokes. We can joke about shit. They tease me about my past, my racist past, things like that, and it's funny. So, but the whole idea of, even when I was before I was in the white power movement, then when I got in the white power and Christian identity movement, and then since, got out of all that, and what brought me out of that was my study of mysticism and metaphysics. And I stopped seeing the Bible as a literal thing in the first damn place. But anyhow, so when it comes to the whole hate speech thing, hate speech and hate crimes where supposedly you did violence or on somebody's stuff, vandalism, where you did violence on that person, assault or attempted assault or attempted murder or murder, those type of things, they're actually based on thought crime concept. And they've been using that shit because that shit come out of the Frankfurt School, the same place they taught critical race theory, the same place they came up with the concept of racism and homophobia and that kind of shit. And by the way, Trotsky did not invent the word racist. How you say racialist in Russian, which is what Trotsky wrote in because he was a Russian Jew, is you say racist, something along that line, racist. Google it, look it up. How you say racialist in Russian is racist. So he didn't invent the word racist. That's a bunch of stupidity too. But the Frankfurt School, which came from Germany, they came over here when Hitler came to power and the National Socialist Party came to power. They came over to New York, into America, into New York, and they stayed there during the World War II. After World War II, guess where the Frankfurt School went right back to? Right back to Germany, and they were teaching Marxist theory and application. And they taught things like homophobia. They taught things to create problems and divisions in families, because Marxism is against family bonds. So they taught all this stuff to cause division, how to cause division and trouble and stuff. Read Saul Alinsky's Rules for Radicals. I've read it. I've read the Karl Marx's manifesto, Communist Manifesto. You read these things and you see these people were purposely agitators. Okay, I've joked about being in the back of the bus, but what's her name? Rosa Parks was a member and the secretary for her state's chapter of the NAACP. She planned that little ditty that she did on the bus. I'm not saying the whole making black people sit in the back of the bus was right, or Jim Crow laws. I'm not saying all that shit. What I'm saying is they have their own agendas. Now, the NAACP, when it was founded all the way up until 1970, its national president was never a black man or black woman. It was always a Jew. Google it. All right? Nelson Mandela, the Martin Luther King of South Africa. Nelson Mandela, he was followed around by a communist Jew. Just like Martin Luther King here was followed around by a communist Jew named Stanley Liebenson. Okay, is it hateful for me to say that shit? No, these are just facts. You draw up your own conclusions, and that's the thing. We need to be able to share information. Governments do not want you to share information. They don't want you to think for yourself, so they create thought crimes. It comes from George Orwell's 1984. They create political speak and politically correct speak. They create the way you're supposed to think and talk and communicate, and they tell you what you can't talk about or what you can't even fucking think about. They don't want you to whispering about it. And it's just like during the COVID era. You've seen how these corporations, these tech corps, are knocking down. I was one of them. You'd lose videos and stuff, or they knock down posts. I was one of them. And be put in cyber jail because you dared to say something about the bullshit that was going on during the COVID time. All right? Everything that was being said is being proven. Well, they were right the whole fucking time. Oh, well. Anytime speech is controlled, I got free speech tattooed on the side of my head when I used to have my head shaved. I've got it, it's still there. It says free speech. Anytime somebody wants to quell your speech or tell you what you can think, you can't think, that's a problem. And anytime someone tries to tell you certain crimes are worse, certain violent crimes, assault or murder, are worse on who it's done or why it's done. To harm someone physically is fucked up, period. You harming an innocent person and assaulting them and or even murdering them is fucked up. Fucking with their shit, vandalizing their property, shit like that. Whatever your fucking motive is fucked up. But you know what? Bombing other countries and bombing the hell out of brown people is fucked up. But, anyhow. So, hate crimes, the only ones that I know that actually commit hateful crimes are the government. But anyhow, the whole concept of hate crimes and hate speech is bizarre. It's bizarre because I would expect the government to try to pull this shit. It's fun for governments of anywhere, countries, wherever, to pull this kind of shit. What fascinates me is that people go along with it. You fucking go along with it. You censor yourself. You whisper. Oh, that guy that robbed the store, he was a black man. Or you use these little euphemisms like urban and teen, right? They won't just come out and say, hey, it's just, whatever. Black kid or black kid was a teenager or black man or whatever. Just say it. Just like when you say it's a white man or whatever. Just say it. But because people have accepted this bullshit, this is other people telling you how to think. And that's just why people can't think for themselves and think outside these little boxes that have been put. A video that I highly recommend on YouTube is called The Kingdom. It's an animation, The Kingdom. And in that you'll see where it shows people with little boxes of cubes around their head, and their cubes start to break away. And they start to open up their eyes and they start to think for themselves. And what the catalyst for that was just one man, one woman, just a small group of people starting to wake up and starting to dare to question the status quo in the system. And in the animation The Kingdom, I highly, highly recommend you watch that after you watch this video and share it with everyone. In it, it shows the politicians and the corporate CEOs and the banksters and all that, how they're at the top. They want to control what is said in the media. The media is portrayed in The Kingdom, the animation, The Kingdom, on YouTube. How they want to control you. Well, George Orwell, who wrote 1984, wrote a little short writing also about how speech is used and words are used to control the way people can speak and make them feel like they can't say or think or utter or whisper certain things. None of that should be off limits. Again, a crime should not be assault or murder or vandalism or destruction of property or whatever. The motive why you did it, if you did it, that's fucking wrong. And there's the same punishment for everyone, straight across the board. Not based, well, you get a little bit more of an enhancement if your assault is on a cop or your assault is on a person because you had you didn't like their race or you didn't like their religion. Assault is wrong, period. Murder is wrong, period. Vandalism is wrong, period. Now, you want to talk about hate speech? Hate speech, that's bullshit. The only hate speech there is slander, libel, lying on people, things like that. Or trying to manipulate people like politicians do, like I've said, or certain preachers do, certain corporate CEOs and other scumbags do. That's the only hate speech there is. Questioning the Holocaust, its numbers, or daring to question any so-called historical fact and calling it, well, it's historical revisionism, or this, that, and the other. There are some legitimate questions people have about the Holocaust, about slavery in America, which happened, and it was fucked up. But you know what? Thomas Sowell was a black man. I'll tell you, there were more white slaves than black slaves at one time. There were lots of blacks who owned slaves in America. There are a lot of American Indians that owned slaves in America. And some of them slaves that they owned weren't just black. They were poor white folks. The white slavery. I've got a video, maybe a couple of videos on this channel where I talk about white slavery. The fact is, slavery is wrong, period, no matter the race. But they want to make slavery to be only a white on black thing, which is absolutely historically inaccurate and total bullshit. It's propaganda. Don't buy it. And a lot of black folk are waking up, and including people like Thomas Sowell and intellectual black men and women are waking up to this bullshit. They're just using this shit to keep us divided. Just like Jews rounded up in concentration camps and stuff, which did happen in Germany, World War II. Well, meanwhile, back at the farm here in America, they were rounding up Japanese folks and German folks during World War II. So, and while Hitler was lessening the gun laws and making it where regular German folk can own guns, yes, Jews couldn't, but Germans could, because it was a racist state. As he was loosening up the Weimar Republic's gun laws, or very restrictive gun ownership laws, here in America in the 1930s, they were making restrictive gun laws. They were making federal laws about pot, using taxing authority on firearms, taxing authority on marijuana, using taxing authority on alcohol restriction in the 1930s in America. All these things that they were doing, but we're told America is free. America is just one empire that's been fighting other empires and wannabe empires. And the empire of the United States federal government is falling. It's collapsing. That's true. All empires rise and fall. They blow up like a bubble and then they finally pop, or they deflate. Rome was a great example. Many others. Because they get too top heavy. They start thinking, they start getting pretty cocky with themselves. They tax everything. They tell you what you can't say. And that's what happens in the dying throes of any empire. It starts to become very restrictive of what you can speak and what you can say. What symbols you can show. What you can think, what you can believe, they become restrictive on. Now, of course, they can't get in your head and tell you what to think or what to believe, but they can damn sure try to punish you for speaking. So, and by the way, it's like I heard a skinhead, a neo-Nazi skinhead one time being interviewed, and he says statistically in America, a person has a greater chance of dying of anaphylactic shock from a bee sting than they do from being hurt or dying from a so-called racist attack or skinhead attack. These are just the facts, ma'am. I'm just telling you how it is. The whole hate crime thing, hate speech thing, it just drives me nuts. Not that the government tries to make these kind of laws, but people think it's real. It's fucking bullshit. There's other laws the government makes, but this video is about the whole hate crime thing. A crime is a crime. Violence is violence. Vandalism is vandalism. Saying hateful things should not be against the law, except more or less you're, like in somebody's front yard hollering at them and hateful things at 2 o'clock in the morning, and then you're not being respectful of everyone needs to have their space and their privacy. Just like I don't have comments under my videos because I'm not interested in bots posting. That's bullshit. I'm not interested in trolls. And a lot of people make a lot of comments. They don't put their brain in gear in the first place, and they will say things under other people's videos. I've noticed it doesn't matter if the video's about fucking kittens. They'll make some of the stupidest comments. They'll make comments in videos. It's like, but the answer is in the video. The person answered it, or they talked about it, or what's that have to do with this? This kind of bullshit. So it's like, in my on my little YouTube channel, under my videos, it's like coming to my house. You're not just going to run your fucking mouth about me or a bunch of shit in my home, but I wouldn't do that in your home either. And when I do comment under videos and things like that, most of the time it's something, it's to encourage the person in the video or something like that, or to back up something they're saying, or sometimes it's to back up a commenter who says something that's positive or something like that. I'm not on the internet to be negative. I am negative towards bullshit, and I'm absolutely hateful to the very concept of hate crimes and hate speech, the laws of it. I mean, and I hate that people commit crimes on people, whether it's for their race, religion, sexual orientation, or because they want their money, or because they hate them for some other reason. We need to keep our hands off each other and off each other's stuff like we learned when we were in elementary school. But anyhow, those are my thoughts on hate speech and hate crimes, and, you know, questioning certain narratives and things like that is not hateful. And even if it is hateful, a person should be able to openly question things. We need to be able to do that. And we don't need a society controlling what other people think. And we don't need a society saying certain crimes are worse. Like assault is worse if it's done because of someone hated someone's race, religion, or sexuality. That's fucking bizarre. People do all kinds of violence on people for really dumb reasons. Assault is assault. Vandalism is vandalism. Murder is murder. Harming another person or their stuff is fucked up, period. I don't give a fuck of the motive. And as far as so-called hate speech, those are just thought crimes too. Hate crimes and thought and speech, hate speech laws and hate crime laws are nothing but thought crime laws. And it would seem like every one of us can agree that that's fucked up, and that's more than just a slippery slope. Dude, that's a fucking straight up and down slope. I mean, greased. Because look how they use it against us now, today. They use it to censor. They used it during the COVID era. The same kind of thing. They didn't say it was hate speech, but, we're trying to protect people from false information. That's where hate speech laws go. George Orwell tried to warn this many decades ago. People have tried to warn this. The Frankfurt School was planning all of this shit to control the speech, to make certain crimes worse than others. I hope that air conditioner wasn't too loud. And, yeah, that's bullshit. All right, I'm home now.